Yo, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to Tower of God New World. In today's video, we are going to go over the updated tier list. Once again, right when they didn't update the tier list, I'm just going to put the new characters in their own respective tier in the tier list maker website. So when we take a look at the Pride 1 tier list, they added Caliban and they put Caliban in B tier, which is understandable. I literally put him in B tier in my tier list maker as well. I feel like he is absolute dog shit with no copies. He's just worthless. But with max copies, they put him in A tier. Now, me personally, I would put him in S tier instead because putting him in the same tier as Lozelle kind of weird to me. So I would put him in a S tier category because he can deal some pretty solid damage with max dupes. But of course, when he's going up against enemies who have shields, um, he can't really do anything. So he's a really situational tank character. So I really understand why they put him in A tier because he's just an iffy unit, very iffy. But me personally, I would still put him in at S tier due to the fact that he can deal some pretty good damage with max copies. It's just that his kit is just really useless overall because he doesn't taunt, he doesn't provide any physical magic resistance to your allies. He doesn't do much. He doesn't debuff the enemy. He only stuns them. He just doesn't do anything. So him just being a damage dealer and stunning enemies is just not enough for a tank unit. I'd rather just use, Tank and Dorsey and Princess Anak instead. So Caliban, I understand why they put him in A tier and B tier. Now for Viola, you guys can see that they updated it and they put Viola in S plus tier, which is really good because of the revolution buff. That is really good. I was hoping that they would increase into S plus tier because if they kept them in an S tier, we would have a problem. But they put him in an S plus tier, which is good with Rev 6. And then for Gusting, you guys can see that Gusting now has S plus tier for Rev 6, which is pretty solid as well. So I think those are like the main changes to the tier list. We have Calivan, we got Gusting, and we also have Viola. There might be other characters. Is Flight Uric? Yeah, Flight Uric is still in that B tier, which is understandable because his revolution buff wasn't really that good. Like it was mid. If I'm being honest, it was really mid. Compared to Viola and Gusting, his was definitely the worst one out of all of them. So those are pretty much the changes. And now let's go ahead and take a look at the new characters. So we have Anna and White. So the first character I'm going to go over is Anna. And when we talk about Anna, she is an SSR mage magic damage type unit. And I will say, when it comes to Anna's performance, she's definitely going to be very good for early game players because when you're in the early game, everything in the game works. Whichever character you use, they're going to work because you're at a really low level. So, of course, she's going to be a beast at the early phase of the game. For the mid game, maybe not. I have no idea. But once you reach the late game, she's not really doing much for you. She's just there to distract enemies, and that's pretty much it. That's like her only, like, that's the only way she can be useful. Distracting the enemies and dealing passive damage by being a sub DPS unit. That's literally it. So, I will say for Ana, based off of her kit and her performance, she is definitely going in that A tier. If I were to put her in B tier, that wouldn't be fair because she is pretty good at the early phase of the game. So I think A tier is definitely a valid tier for her due to the fact that she's a beast at the early game, and at the late game, she's more of like a distracting unit. To be honest, you can put her with your main DPS unit, and she's going to play as a distraction, and she can help your team stay alive a lot longer because of the bunny doll that she summoned on the battlefield. And when it comes to her revolution, I still feel like even with her revolution, her Rev 6, she still stays in at A tier. And it's because her Rev 6 is just not that crazy. Like it's not that crazy. And it would have been a lot better if they decreased the cooldown of her Bunny Doll revive, because the revive I think is a 28-second cooldown, which is way too long. So if they decreased it to at least, let's say, 15 seconds or 10 seconds, that would be a lot better and she'll be a lot more useful. But the 28-second cooldown is just too long. So when the Bunny Doll dies, it's just her on the battlefield, and that's pretty much it for 20 seconds, for 28 seconds. And the chance of your whole team staying alive for 28 seconds, I don't think that's going to happen unless you're at a really low level. So yeah, I will say her performance is in that A tier category. And the next we have White, the man himself. This guy right here is an absolute beast. He is a monster against bosses. He is completely dominating the boss meta right now. Data Uric, say goodbye. Data Uric is cooked. Like, he is literally destroying Data Uric. It's insane. So White, not only is he crazy against bosses, he is also really, really good in PvP and PvE, which is insane. The fact that he is good in almost every single content in the game is just fire overall. Like, you guys remember before they dropped his kit, everybody was doubting this guy, except me. I was like, ain't no way they're gonna make this guy trash. Every time they drop a PV trailer for characters, they're always broken as fuck. And guess what? This guy's fucking busted. So I will say for White, one of his greatest weaknesses is going up against units like Data Zahard, for example, because Data Zahard has that invincibility. So White can die against Data Zahard. And considering the fact that White is a melee unit, he is charging an enemy and he's pretty much receiving a lot of aggro from the enemy, and the enemies are focusing on White. So his survivability can be questionable, but his damage is insane. Like, his damage is fucking stupid. Like, when you do his ultimate, instant one tap. Awaken Rack is a joke when White is on the field. Like, I showed you guys that short video that I made. Awaken Rack literally turned into breadcrumbs because of White. So if we were to look at this tier list, right, the tier list maker, and we look at White, I will say without Rev 6, like, if you don't have him at least 4 orange stars, so you can get his revolution tier 4, I'm gonna put him in that S tier if you don't have Rev 4 and Rev 5. But if you have his Rev 6, I think this guy deserves SS plus tier. Like, I think he deserves it because he's literally doing well. I mean, not SS plus tier, SS tier, there it is. But he's doing really, really well, you know, against bosses. He's doing really well in high deficits. It's just that his survivability is questionable, but that's pretty much it. His damage is insane. Like, his damage is crazy. So I do feel like he definitely belongs in an SS tier. I still think that trauma rate is way more broken than White. Trauma rate is just fucking stupid because he's a support character, buffing your allies, dealing crazy damage, getting rid of shields. He can pretty much do everything. He's a one-man army. Meanwhile, for White, he's more of like a, you know, a DPS focused unit, but his survivability is just, you know, a little bit iffy because he doesn't really have, you know, a best in slot ignition weapon. So until we have like, until Netmarble they release an ignition weapon, not specifically for White but for magic damage type units, I will say that White is behind trauma rate because he just doesn't have an insane ignition weapon. As of right now, I'm using Rayana set, and it's pretty good on him. It allows him to pretty much one tap enemies because he has that huge attack boost. So yeah, I do feel like White definitely deserves that SS tier once you reach a Rev 6. Once you get that Rev 6, I think he deserves that SS tier. He definitely deserves it. And then for Rev 3, pretty much below, you know, Revolution tier 4 and 5, he should be in that S tier. I feel like if you are a new player and you got one copy on White, he's going to be crazy at the early game. But of course, once you reach the late game, it's either you max out the unit or you don't. So late game, Rev 6, SS tier. I think that's a valid tier for him because putting him in S plus tier is like putting him in the same tier as Kun Mashini. But that's the thing too. It's like if I put him in SS tier, what about Kun Mashini? You know, that's the tough part. What about Kun Mashini? And I am a White glazer. Like, I glaze the fuck out of him. But for Kun Mashini, she is also an insane damage dealing unit as well. So I feel like what they should do is White definitely deserves that SS tier for sure. And the thing is, Kun Mashini, she's not really good against bosses. So I think White also gets, you know, a one up the fact that he is insane against bosses and he's also cracked in PvP. So this is my opinion though. This is not, I'm not saying that this is 100% facts, but this is my opinion. I feel like White deserves the SS tier and Kun Mashini stays in the S plus tier. And the reason why is because White is a menace in PvP and he's also good against bosses. Meanwhile, for Kun Mashini, she is a menace in PvE, right? Like, she can literally destroy enemies with her ultimate. She's cracked as fuck when you have her Rev 6, when you have her Rev 4 and 5 and 6 or whatever. She's insanely stupid. And you know, her survivability is a lot better than White because she doesn't receive a lot of aggro. She's not drawing that much attention from the enemy because she is a range DPS unit. Plus, you have her Revolution sub nodes, which boost her damage 10 times more. So between Kun Mashi and White, it is debatable, but in my personal opinion, I feel like White has a lot more value due to the fact that he's good against bosses, he's cracked in PvP, and he's also good in PvE. So he's pretty much good all around. So that's my opinion. SS tier, once again, this is not 100% facts. This is just me, you know, expressing my feelings and how I feel about White and why I think he belongs in that SS tier. But of course, tell me what you guys think in the comment section down below. If you think that Kun Mashing deserves the SS tier and White deserves the S plus tier, state your reason why first in the comment section. Don't be like, oh, Faros, you're wrong. And then I ask you, I'm like, okay, why am I wrong? And you're like, I just disagree with you. Come on, bro. Give me a reason why you think Kun Mashing believe she deserves the SS tier and White doesn't. Give me a reason. But that's pretty much the updated tier list. We have White SS tier, we have Ana in A tier, and I think this is pretty valid. I think this is a valid spot for White and a valid spot for Ana as well. Because Ana in A tier would be with Joaquin and Kaseya. And of course, Joaquin, I mean, let's be honest, man. White replaced Joaquin. Joaquin is just irrelevant at this point because of White. So White is the new guy. He is the new meta. But hopefully you guys enjoyed today's video. Make sure you go ahead, hit the like button, subscribe if you haven't. I really appreciate it. And by the way, guys, Netmarble, they dropped a PV trailer for the next collaboration. And it's pretty obvious that the collaboration is Teenage Mercenary. It's pretty obvious. So make sure you guys go ahead and check out the trailer. I think they're teasing the characters one by one. Yesterday, it was the main character, this guy in the front with gray hair. And then I think today, in a couple hours here, is going to be the girl standing in the back. I don't know. I think they're going to reveal all the characters separately each day until we reach a collaboration update. So, hope you guys have a good one, and I'll be catching you guys on the next one. Peace.